Bram wiped the grease from his hands and leaned against the wall of his small workshop on Mars. The red dust outside swirled lazily, painting the windows in a soft orange hue. He loved the quiet of the place, the way the sun fell through the broken glass, and the smell of oil and metal that always lingered in the air. He had no desire for wealth or recognition, only the satisfaction of fixing things that others had given up on. The humans around the colony often ignored him. The officials never visited. The traders from off-world only stopped by when desperate. It was perfect for someone who liked solitude. Today, however, the quiet was broken by a sudden sound over the intercom. Attention, human settlements. An alien vessel will land in your sector. This is not a drill. The voice was cold and mechanical, devoid of any warmth or explanation. Bram frowned and wiped his hands again, a little nervous. Alien ships were rare in this area. Most of the time, the humans who lived on Mars dealt with routine deliveries or occasional visitors from nearby mining stations. A full visit from an alien empire was unheard of. He stepped outside his workshop and saw it hovering in the distance. The ship was enormous, wider than any human transport he had ever seen. Its hull gleamed with strange lights, and the surface seemed to ripple slightly, as if it were alive. People in the colony gathered at a safe distance, murmuring and pointing at the alien craft. Even the guards seemed tense, unsure of what to expect. When the ship landed, the hatch opened with a hiss, revealing a figure. It was a young girl, her form much larger than what the humans considered normal for her age. She wore a uniform that was unfamiliar, flowing and decorated with shimmering symbols Bram could not read. Her face, round and expressive, showed a mixture of nervousness and hope. She looked around, and for a moment, her eyes met Bram's. There was something in her gaze that stopped him. It was not fear or arrogance. It was quiet and honest, like someone who had waited their whole life to be seen. The colony immediately started whispering. "The Emperor's daughter," someone said. "Is this a joke?" Another whispered. Rumors spread fast. The humans had heard stories about the alien emperor, a ruler known for his pride and harsh sense of humor. Sending his daughter to a small human settlement was considered insulting. The people snickered and pointed at the girl. Even the guards seemed uncertain how to treat her. But Bram did not laugh. He stepped forward, his boots crunching on the red sand. The girl turned toward him and gave a small, nervous smile. "Hello," she said, her voice soft but clear. "I am Princess Numa. I have come on behalf of my father." Bram nodded slowly. "I am Bram. Welcome to Mars." He gestured toward his workshop. "If you need shelter or someone to talk to, my workshop is safe." "You are welcome there," Numa blinked. The other humans whispered among themselves, some scowling, some laughing quietly. But the girl's expression softened. She stepped toward the workshop with a mix of caution and curiosity. For the first time since landing, she felt a little less alone. Inside the workshop, the walls were lined with tools, engines in various stages of repair, and shelves stacked with spare parts. It smelled of oil, metal, and the faint temps of electricity. Numa's eyes widened. She had never seen technology arranged in such a way. The machines seemed alive to her, each one with a story to tell. Bram noticed her gaze. "You like machines?" he asked. "I do," she replied. "I've always been fascinated by how things work. Even when others laughed at me, I like to understand." Bram smiled faintly. He could relate to that. Most humans in the colony ignored him. Some even mocked his obsession with old engines and broken ships. But here was someone who spoke the same language of curiosity. For the next few hours, Bram showed Numa around the workshop. He pointed out tools, explained the purpose of different parts, and even let her touch some of the simpler machines. She was careful but attentive, her hands moving with surprising skill. She asked questions that were thoughtful, not just simple curiosity. Bram was impressed. Here was a girl who could learn fast and who wanted to understand everything. Outside, the colony continued to murmur. Officials were arriving now, their faces grim as they assessed the situation. They whispered among themselves, concerned about the presence of the Emperor's daughter in such a remote place. Bram ignored them. He focused on the girl before him. When night fell, the workshop glowed with warm light. Numa sat beside a small generator Bram had been repairing, her legs swinging slightly. She looked tired but happy. "I have never felt welcome like this," she admitted. "Even my own people have treated me as if I am a joke." Bram nodded. "I understand. People can be cruel when they do not see value in someone different. But you are capable and strong. That is what matters." Numa's eyes filled with a mixture of relief and gratitude. "Thank you, Bram. I did not know anyone could see me like that." They worked together late into the night, fixing small engines and cleaning parts. For Numa, it was a world of discovery. For Bram, it was the first time in a long while that someone truly shared his passion. They laughed over mistakes, celebrated small victories, and slowly, friendship began to grow. As the hours passed, the distant lights of Mars flickered outside the windows. The colony slept. The aliens watched silently from their ship, and Bram and Numa continued their work. Outside, the red dust swirled, but inside the workshop, there was warmth and understanding. Bram realized something important. This girl, sent as a joke by her father, was exactly the kind of person he had always hoped to meet. Not for wealth or status, but for kindness, curiosity, and strength of heart. Numa, despite her fears and the whispers of the colony, had a spark that made him feel hopeful. By the time they paused for a small meal, Numa looked around the workshop with awe. "This place. It is amazing. Everything is organized yet alive." "How do you do it?" Bram chuckled. "It is simple. I treat machines like they have feelings. If you respect them, they will respect you back." Numa smiled. "I think I understand now. You treat things and people with care. That is rare." Bram nodded. "It is. But sometimes, care is the only thing that matters." Outside, the alien ship glimmered under the Martian sky. The other humans whispered and speculated about the Emperor's plans. The officials debated what to do. But inside the workshop, Bram and Numa were safe in their own world. A world of metal, sparks, and understanding. By morning, the colony would wake, and the whispers would grow louder. The Emperor might be furious or proud. No one could tell. But for now, in the small corner of Mars, two unlikely friends had begun a journey that neither expected. One was a human mechanic who fixed broken machines. The other was a princess who had been sent as a joke. Together, they were beginning to understand that value was not measured by appearance or status or jokes from powerful rulers. Value was measured by heart, courage, and the willingness to see what others overlooked. Bram leaned back in his chair and looked at Numa. "Tomorrow, we can start on the larger project," he said. "There is an old cargo ship buried near the colony. No one has been able to repair it for decades. I think you might like it." Numa's eyes widened with excitement. "Really? I would love that. I want to learn everything I can." Bram smiled. "Then we will start tomorrow. But tonight, rest. You have had a long journey." Numa nodded and looked out the window at the swirling red dust. For the first time in her life, she felt like she belonged somewhere, even if it was far from her father, far from the court, and far from the people who had never understood her. Here, in a small mechanic's workshop on Mars, she was seen, valued, and welcomed. The night passed quietly. The Martian winds whispered against the walls of the workshop, carrying dust and silence. Inside, Bram and Numa slept in separate corners, exhausted but hopeful. Outside, the colony dreamed, and the alien ship waited. A gift meant as a joke had found the one human who could see its true worth. And for Bram, the quiet mechanic who fixed broken things, life had just begun to change in ways he could never have imagined. Morning on Mars came slowly, painting the sky in soft shades of orange and pink. The red dust still clung to the windows of Bram's workshop, but inside there was warmth. Numa had woken early, as she usually did. Moving quietly to avoid disturbing Bram, her eyes wandered across the workshop, examining the tools, the engines, and the small mechanical devices scattered on the shelves. Every piece seemed to tell a story, and her curiosity pulled her closer. Bram had already started his morning routine. He was checking the power circuits of the workshop generator, tapping wires and turning knobs, making sure everything was running smoothly. When he saw Numa watching, he gave her a small smile. "Good morning," he said. "Did you sleep well?" Numa nodded. "Yes, it is quiet here. I like it. No one is shouting or judging." Bram chuckled softly. "That is because you are with me, not them. The colony can be noisy, and people often forget to be kind. Here we can focus on what matters." Numa moved closer to a large engine that sat on the floor, dusty and old. "Is this the cargo ship you mentioned?" she asked, pointing toward a small model Bram had built to demonstrate the project. "Yes," Bram replied. "It is buried a few kilometers from here. The others have tried to fix it, but it is too old, too complex. I think you might enjoy it." Her eyes lit up. "I want to see it now. Can we?" Bram hesitated for a moment. The journey to the buried ship would take time, and the terrain was rough, but he saw the excitement in her eyes and nodded. "All right. Let's prepare our tools and head out." They spent the next hour gathering equipment. Bram loaded their small rover with mechanical tools, wires, and spare parts. Numa followed, carrying what she could, her determination clear despite her larger form. People in the colony whispered as they passed, some still laughing quietly, some staring in disbelief. But Bram ignored them. His focus was on the girl beside him, who had already shown intelligence, courage, and patience. The journey across the Martian plains was challenging. The red dust made the rover wheels slip occasionally, and the uneven terrain demanded careful navigation. Bram drove steadily, occasionally pointing out the strange rock formations and explaining how the old humans and Martians had mapped the land centuries ago. Numa listened intently, asking questions that surprised him with their depth. She wanted to know why certain rocks were where they were, how the machines adjusted to the terrain, and what humans had learned from years of living on Mars. When they arrived at the buried cargo ship, Numa gasped. Half of the ship was covered in dust and rocks, and the metal surface was dull with age. But even through the layers of neglect, she could see its potential. The ship had a sleek design with a shape that seemed alive, as if it had been designed to move effortlessly through space. "This is incredible," she whispered. "How did it get here?" Bram wiped sweat from his forehead and knelt beside the ship. It was built during the early days of Mars colonization. They thought it could travel between planets faster than anything else. But it was too complex, too fragile for regular use. It was abandoned, forgotten. Until now, Numa ran her hands over the metal, feeling the grooves and the curves. "It is like a puzzle," she said. "If we fix it, it will work again. I can feel it." Bram smiled. He handed her a small tool. "Then let's start. We will take it step by step. First, we need to clear the dust and debris. Then we can check the engines and circuits." For hours they worked together. Numa's hands were steady, and her mind absorbed every instruction Bram gave. She learned quickly, understanding the machines almost instinctively. Bram realized that she had a natural talent for mechanics, something he had never seen in anyone else. As they worked, the sun climbed higher, casting sharp shadows across the Martian surface. The colony from a distance watched the tiny figures moving around the buried ship. Some whispered that the girl would fail, that the human mechanic was wasting his time. But Bram and Numa did not hear them. Their focus was complete, their minds connected through shared work and curiosity. At one point, a loose panel fell, narrowly missing Bram's foot. Numa reacted immediately, grabbing it and holding it safely. "Careful," she said, her eyes wide. "You could have been hurt." Bram laughed softly. "Thanks. You have quick reflexes. That will help us." "Not everyone can handle this kind of work." Numa smiled, a little shyly. "I want to learn everything. I want to help." Bram shook his head slightly, impressed. "You already do. You just do not know it yet." As the hours passed, they uncovered more of the ship. Panels were cleaned, engines examined, and small repairs made. Numa asked questions constantly, and Bram answered with patience, sometimes demonstrating, sometimes explaining theory. They discovered old systems that had never been used, parts that were missing or damaged. It was challenging, but both of them found joy in the problem-solving. During a short break, they sat on a pile of rocks and looked out over the Martian plains. Numa's face was streaked with dust, but her eyes were bright. "Bram," she said, "I never knew working on machines could feel like this. It is like understanding a new language." "Duh," Bram nodded. "It is. Machines are honest. They do not judge. They tell you what they need, and you respond. People are different. Sometimes they cannot see your worth. Machines do not lie." Numa looked thoughtful. "That is why I like being here. You see me? I am not a joke or a mistake. I am something that matters." Bram smiled, touched by her words. "You matter, Numa. Do not let anyone tell you otherwise." The day passed, and by late afternoon, they had made significant progress. The ship's engines were partially repaired, circuits connected, and systems tested. Small sparks flew as the power systems came to life, and Numa's eyes lit up with excitement. "It works," she whispered. "I did this." Bram shook his head. "We did this together. You have talent, Numa. Never forget it." As they packed up their tools to head back to the workshop, the distant hum of the alien ship reached their ears. Officials and guards had begun to arrive, observing their work from a distance. They had expected failure, perhaps embarrassment, and maybe even ridicule. But what they saw was a girl, determined and capable, working side by side with a human mechanic to restore a forgotten marvel. Bram noticed the whispers, but he ignored them. His attention was on Numa, who walked beside him with a sense of pride he had never seen on any other visitor. The bond between them had grown stronger, built not by words alone, but by shared effort, trust, and understanding. Back in the workshop, they unloaded the tools and cleaned up the dust. Numa watched Bram carefully, mimicking his movements as he wiped the machines. "I think I am learning quickly," she said. Bram laughed softly. "You are. You already understand more than most adults I know. Your mind works in ways that make machines respond." Numa blushed slightly, looking down at her hands. "I never thought anyone would notice. At the palace, I was always ignored or mocked. I tried to learn, but people laughed." Bram shook his head. "People can be blind, but talent cannot hide forever. You just needed someone who could see it. And I see it, Numa. You are clever, strong, and capable. Never doubt yourself." For the first time in her life, Numa felt a sense of belonging. She had been sent as a joke by her father, the Emperor. But here on Mars with Bram, she felt recognized and valued. She realized that strength and worth were not determined by appearance, status, or the opinions of others, but by courage, effort, and heart. As the Martian night fell, they sat together in the quiet workshop. The stars above shimmered through the broken glass, and the distant lights of the colony glowed faintly. Numa leaned back, exhausted but happy. "Thank you, Bram, for everything today." "I feel proud," Bram nodded. "And you should. Tomorrow we will continue. There is still much to do with the cargo ship, and I think you will enjoy the next part. It will be harder, but you are ready." Numa smiled, looking out at the vast Martian sky. "I am ready." With you, the night passed peacefully. Outside, the wind carried red dust over the plains. Inside, the workshop was quiet, filled only with the hum of repaired machines and the sense of new beginnings. A human mechanic and an alien princess, brought together by chance, had begun a journey that would change both of their lives. They had learned to trust, to work together, and to see value where others saw a joke, and as they drifted into sleep, Numa realized that the life she had feared, the life where she was unwanted and unseen, was changing. Here on Mars with Bram, she was starting to understand what it meant to be truly seen, truly appreciated, and truly capable. The first day had ended, but their story was just beginning. The Martian sun rose slowly, spilling gold and red light across the colony. Bram and Numa were already awake, their minds still buzzing from the work of the previous day. The cargo ship lay just outside the workshop, partially uncovered and ready for more repairs. Numa moved with purpose, gathering tools and preparing circuits, while Bram checked the rover for supplies. The bond between them had grown stronger. They shared laughter, ideas, and a mutual respect that seemed rare among humans and aliens alike. As they worked, a distant rumble reached their ears. First, Bram thought it was a sandstorm, but the sound was too rhythmic, too deliberate. He paused and looked at Numa. "Do you hear that?" Numa nodded. "It does not sound like weather." She wiped dust from her hands and walked to the edge of the work area. Her eyes narrowed. "Something is coming." The screen lit up with moving shapes. "It's not human," he muttered. "They are coming fast." From the distance, a group of figures appeared, sleek and armored, moving in formation. Bram recognized them immediately. "Assassins," he whispered. "The Emperor's rivals. They must think they can capture her and embarrass the Emperor." Numa's eyes hardened. "Then they will have to go through me." Bram's heart quickened. He had never seen her like this, so confident, so resolute. "We need to protect the workshop and the ship. Are you ready?" "I am," Numa said. Her voice was steady, strong, and full of determination. The first of the armored figures reached the edge of the workshop. Their weapons glinted in the sunlight. They were fast, trained, and clearly expecting an easy target. Bram and Numa moved quickly, barricading the entrance and preparing defensive measures. Small drones and alarm systems, which Bram had built for emergencies, activated automatically. The sound startled the intruders, but they did not stop. The first attack came in the form of energy blasts. Bram ducked behind a stack of crates, quickly reloading his own improvised defenses. Numa stepped forward, holding a plasma torch in her hand, not as a tool for repair, but as a weapon. The fire-like energy from the torch flared, casting shadows across her determined face. Bram watched her with awe. She is not fragile at all, he thought. She is strong. Stronger than anyone imagined. The armored figures advanced, but Numa moved with surprising agility. Her larger form allowed her to push through obstacles that would have blocked others. She lifted heavy panels and threw them in the path of attackers, creating barriers while deflecting energy blasts with the torch. Bram fired improvised energy nets, trapping a few of them momentarily. Together, they worked in perfect coordination. One of the attackers tried to flank them from the left. Numa reacted instantly, stepping in front of Bram and using her weight to block the path. She pushed the figure away with sheer strength, sending him tumbling into the dust. Bram had never seen anyone move like that, and he realized that her physical strength was only part of what made her formidable. More attackers appeared, using advanced technology to bypass Bram's defenses. Numa adapted quickly, her eyes scanning the battlefield, calculating, planning. She directed Bram to reinforce the doors, to use the workshop machinery as temporary shields, and to redirect energy pulses from the ship's engines as distractions. Bram followed her instructions, impressed by her insight and ability to strategize under pressure. Despite the chaos, Numa remained focused. She moved with precision, striking when necessary and protecting Bram at every turn. At one moment, an attacker broke through a barricade, aiming directly at Bram. Without hesitation, Numa shoved him aside, taking the blast herself. Sparks flew around her, and dust filled the air, but she remained standing. Bram rushed to her side. "Are you okay?" shouted, fear in his voice. Numa nodded, brushing herself off. "I am fine. We need to keep going." Bram realized then that she had not only physical strength, but a spirit that would not break. She was brave, loyal, and unwavering. I'd always known she was capable, but now he saw her hidden strength, the part of her that no one at the Emperor's court had ever acknowledged. The attackers regrouped, using their technology to try and overwhelm the workshop. Numa noticed a weak point in their formation and whispered to Bram, "Cover me. I have an idea." Bram nodded, trusting her completely, where she grabbed several heavy panels and positioned them strategically, creating a funnel that would force the attackers to move in a confined path. As they advanced, Numa activated the plasma torch in a sweeping motion, cutting a path while Bram used the energy nets to trap them. Unable to adapt to their coordinated defense, the last few tried to retreat, but Numa blocked their path. "You cannot escape," she said firmly. Her voice carried authority, and the attackers paused, realizing they were outmatched. They retreated quickly, vanishing into the horizon, leaving dust and silence behind. Bram exhaled deeply, looking at her in astonishment. "That was incredible," he said. "You are amazing, Numa. I never imagined you could do that." Numa smiled faintly, her chest heaving with effort. "I had to protect you, and the ship. It is important. We cannot let them take it." Bram shook his head, amazed. "You are more than I ever expected. Not just strong, but smart, brave, and loyal. You are everything I have ever wanted in a partner, in a friend, in someone I can trust." Numa looked at him, her eyes softening. "Thank you, Bram. You saw me when no one else did. Even when my father sent me as a joke, you treated me as someone who matters. That is more than I can ever ask for." The fight had left the workshop and the cargo ship slightly damaged, but nothing that could not be repaired. Bram and Numa began to assess the damage, carefully checking the ship's engines and systems. They worked side by side, cleaning debris, repairing circuits, and recalibrating the energy core as the sun began to set. Casting long shadows across the Martian plains, Numa paused and looked out at the horizon. "They will come again," she said quietly. "We must be ready." Bram nodded. "And we will be, together." For the first time, Numa felt a deep sense of confidence. She had faced danger, protected someone she cared about, and proven that her strength was real. The Emperor's joke had turned into something meaningful. She was no longer just a princess sent as an insult. She was a warrior, a protector, and a valued ally. That night, they returned to the workshop, exhausted but unbroken. They spoke little, each lost in their thoughts. But there was a sense of understanding between them that words could not capture. As they prepared for sleep, Bram said, "Tomorrow we continue with the cargo ship. There is still much to do, and I think the next part will be even more challenging. But I have faith in us." Numa smiled, a mixture of fatigue and determination on her face. "I am ready. Whatever comes, we face it together." The night was calm, the Martian winds whispering softly outside the workshop. Inside, the light of the repaired generator cast warm shadows across the walls. Numa and Bram rested, knowing that their bond had grown stronger and that together they could face any challenge. The events of the day had changed everything. Numa had discovered a part of herself that she had never known. She was not just a joke, a burden, or an outsider. She was capable, strong, and important. Bram had seen this from the beginning, but now the truth was undeniable. Outside, the alien ship remained in orbit, silent and distant. The colony watched cautiously, aware that something extraordinary had occurred. Bram and Numa had proven that courage, intelligence, and heart were more powerful than status, size. Bram smiled, placing a hand on her shoulder. "You never needed me to believe. You only needed a chance to show it, and you did." The night passed quietly, but both of them knew that the days ahead would bring more challenges. There would be tests, obstacles, and perhaps more enemies. But Numa no longer feared them. With Bram by her side, she knew that together they could face anything. The hidden strength of the princess had been revealed, and with it, a new chapter of their journey began. Together they would uncover the secrets of the cargo ship, protect their home, prove to the galaxy that courage and heart were far greater than any joke or insult. And as they drifted into sleep, the Martian winds carrying whispers of dust and stars, Bram and Numa rested with the knowledge that they were ready for whatever the universe had in store. The next morning, the Martian sky was painted in a soft gold hue. Bram and Numa were already at the workshop, preparing for the next phase of their project. The cargo ship waited outside, partially repaired but still dormant, its potential hidden beneath layers of dust and age. The events of the previous day lingered in their minds, but neither hesitated to continue their work. Both had realized that the ship was more than a machine. It was a challenge, a puzzle, and perhaps even a key to something far greater than they imagined. Bram checked the rover one last time. "We have enough tools and energy supplies for today," he said. "The first step is accessing the ship's main engine. It is old technology, but I think we can bring it back online." Numa nodded, her eyes bright with determination. "I want to see it work. I want to understand everything about it." They reached the ship and began cleaning the outer panels. Dust and small rocks were removed carefully, revealing the metallic sheen beneath. The sun reflected off the surface, glinting like precious metal. Numa ran her hands over the curves, tracing the design with fascination. "This ship is more than old technology," she said. "It feels alive." Bram smiled. "That is how the engineers designed it. Every curve, every line, every circuit is made for precision. Once it is repaired, it will move like nothing you have ever seen." Inside the ship, the engine room was vast and complex. Bram led Numa through the maze of circuits, energy conduits, and control panels. The air was heavy with dust, and the smell of old metal and grease filled the room. Numa examined everything carefully, her mind absorbing every detail. She asked questions, suggested solutions, and demonstrated an understanding that surprised Bram at every turn. "This engine is ancient," Bram said, "but it still has potential. The circuits are intact, and the energy conduits are functional. If we synchronize the core properly, it should activate." Numa's hands moved deftly, connecting wires and adjusting controls. "I see the pattern," she said. "The energy flow is not stable. We need to redirect it through the auxiliary conduits to balance the load." Out. "Exactly. You are learning quickly." Hours passed as they worked together. Sparks flew occasionally as Numa adjusted components, and Bram monitored the readings carefully. Slowly, the engine began to hum, a low vibration that resonated through the floor of the ship. Numa's eyes widened. "It is responding," she whispered. "The ship is waking up. We are getting close. Keep going. Don't stop now." The engine's hum grew stronger, and the ship began to glow faintly. Numa adjusted the conduits again, fine-tuning the energy distribution. Bram watched in awe. She had not only learned the mechanics quickly, but she also had an instinct for understanding the ship's behavior. It was as if she could feel its rhythm, its pulse. Suddenly, a warning light flashed on the control panel. An energy surge threatened to overload the system. Bram shouted, "Quick! Stabilize the core." Without hesitation, Numa worked with precision, redirecting the surge and recalibrating the energy conduits. Sparks shot across the panels, but she remained calm, focused, and confident. The ship's hum steadied, growing stronger and more harmonious. Bram could not help but feel admiration for her. She was fearless, brilliant, and capable of handling pressure with skill he had never seen. Outside the workshop, officials from the colony had gathered, watching through the windows. They had expected failure, perhaps even disaster, but what they saw was extraordinary. The human mechanic and the alien princess were working together to awaken a forgotten marvel of human engineering. Numa adjusted the final control panel. "It is ready," she said softly. "I think we can activate the jump drive."
What?
Bram placed a hand on her shoulder. "Are you sure?" She nodded firmly. "Yes, we have done everything carefully. Trust me." With a deep breath, Bram activated the controls, and the ship responded immediately. Lights flashed along the hull, the engine roared with power,
Oh.
and the ship vibrated as if it had come alive after centuries of sleep. Numa's eyes shone with triumph. "It works," she whispered. "We did it." Bram grinned, unable to contain his excitement. "We really did it. You were incredible, Numa. I never doubted you for a second." The ship's systems stabilized, and the hum became steady. Numa walked around the control room, checking readings, adjusting minor components, and ensuring everything was balanced. Bram observed quietly, amazed at her skill and focus. She was not just capable. She was extraordinary. As they prepared to test the ship's interstellar jump, alarms suddenly sounded from outside. The colony officials looked shocked as they saw a fleet of alien vessels approaching. Bram and Numa froze for a moment. "It is the Emperor," Numa whispered. "He has come to see the results himself." Bram frowned. "Do you think he knows what we have done?" Numa shook her head. "I do not know. But we cannot stop now. We must finish this test." The ship vibrated again as Numa activated the jump sequence. Bram watched the displays carefully, monitoring energy levels and coordinates. Numa's hands moved quickly, inputting calculations and synchronizing the jump drive. The alien fleet slowed as they observed, curious and cautious. A bright light filled the engine room as the ship powered up. Energy surged through the conduits, and the hum became a deep, resonant sound that filled the entire ship. Numa looked at Bram, her eyes shining. "Ready?" she asked. Bram nodded. "Let's do this." The final command, the ship activated its interstellar jump. The room was filled with a bright, white light, and for a moment, everything seemed to blur. Then, with a soft vibration, the ship reappeared above the Martian plains, perfectly intact and fully operational. Outside, the officials and the alien fleet watched in awe. The joke princess had just activated a forgotten piece of human technology. The results were beyond anyone's imagination. The ship was stable, its systems fully functional, and its power unmatched. Bram turned to Numa, his voice full of admiration. "You did it. This ship? It is amazing. You are amazing." Numa smiled, a mixture of pride and relief on her face. "We did it together. I could not have done this without you, Bram." The alien fleet remained in orbit, silent and observing. The Emperor's message soon arrived through a communication channel. His voice was calm but firm. "Princess Numa, what is the meaning of this? You have activated a human ship without authorization. Explain yourself." Numa straightened. "Father, I have proven that this ship is functional. It is not a threat, but a symbol of cooperation and skill. I wanted to show that humans and I can work together to achieve greatness." There was a pause. Bram noticed a faint change in the Emperor's tone, a hint of surprise and perhaps respect. "I underestimated you, Numa. You have not only proven your capability, but you have also strengthened our alliance with Earth. I'm impressed." Numa looked at Bram and whispered, "I think he is proud in his own way." Bram smiled. "You should be proud too. You have done something no one expected. You turned a joke into honor." As the Martian sun began to set, casting golden light over the plains, Numa and Bram stood side by side. The cargo ship gleamed in the fading sunlight, fully restored and ready for future journeys. They had faced danger, uncertainty, and doubt, but together they had succeeded. The Emperor's fleet slowly retreated, leaving the colony and the workshop in peace. Numa turned to Bram. "I think our journey is just beginning. There is so much more we can do with this ship." Bram nodded. "Yes, and now everyone knows your value. Not as a joke, but as a brilliant, capable, and strong individual. The galaxy will see what I have known all along." Numa smiled, feeling a warmth she had never experienced before. "Thank you, Bram, for believing in me, for trusting me, and for seeing me for who I am." Bram placed a hand on her shoulder. "You never needed me to see you. You only needed a chance to show it. And you did, Numa. You did." The night fell quietly over Mars, the red dust sparkling under the stars. Inside the workshop, Bram and Numa prepared for the next stage of their adventure, knowing that together they could face any challenge. The cargo ship was no longer just a relic of the past. It was a symbol of hope, skill, and unity between two worlds. The events of the day had proven something important. Numa's courage and intelligence had changed the way both humans and aliens viewed her. She was no longer a princess sent as a joke. She was a leader, a partner, and a symbol of possibility. And as they rested that night, the Martian winds whispering outside, Bram and Numa knew that their journey was far from over. The universe held many challenges, but they were ready. Together, they would explore the stars, repair what was broken, and show the galaxy the true meaning of courage, skill, and heart. The engine of honor had been awakened, and its power would carry them forward into adventures no one could yet imagine. The morning light spilled across the Martian plains, painting the red dust in golden shades. Bram and Numa were already at the workshop, preparing for a new test. The cargo ship they had restored the day before stood ready outside, gleaming in the sunlight, its engines humming softly. News of their achievement had spread quickly through the colony and even reached Earth. Officials and citizens alike were curious, eager to see what this partnership between a human mechanic and an alien. Princess could accomplish. Bram tightened a few bolts on the ship's hull and glanced at Numa. Today we test the jump drive in a real trial, he said. We need to make sure the ship can safely move between planets and return without issue. Numa nodded, her eyes bright with anticipation. I am ready. I have double-checked everything. The workshop was alive with energy as they prepared. Tools and instruments were arranged meticulously, and energy readings were taken for every system. Numa moved with confidence, her hands steady and her mind focused. Bram watched her, feeling pride and admiration. She was no longer the shy, uncertain princess who had arrived as a joke. She had grown into someone capable, strong, brilliant. As they activated the ship's engines, the hum grew deeper and more resonant. Numa adjusted the energy conduits with precision, synchronizing the power flow while Bram monitored the main controls. Outside, curious humans and officials watched from a distance, careful not to interfere. The alien fleet that had arrived yesterday remained in orbit, silent observers. Suddenly, a warning signal flashed. A small asteroid field had entered the projected jump path. Bram's eyes widened. We need to reroute, now. Numa's fingers flew over the controls. I see it. I can adjust the trajectory. Trust me. Bram nodded, trusting her completely. Numa recalculated the jump sequence and adjusted the coordinates with speed and accuracy. The ship vibrated, responding to her commands. She was calm, precise, and fearless, guiding the massive vessel through the challenge with skill and confidence. As the ship stabilized, Bram looked at her in awe. You are incredible, Numa. You have saved the ship and probably everyone around it. Numa smiled faintly. We did it together. You guided me, and I followed. That is how it works. The jump drive activated, and the cargo ship disappeared from Mars, leaving a trail of light behind. Inside, Numa and Bram felt a brief weightlessness, the hum of the engines surrounding them like music. The stars outside stretched into lines as the ship jumped across space. Bram gripped the controls while Numa monitored every reading, her mind sharp and focused. Minutes later, the ship reappeared in orbit around a nearby human colony. All systems were stable, and the jump had been successful. Numa let out a small laugh of relief and excitement. It worked perfectly. The calculations were right. Bram smiled broadly. You did it, Numa. The ship works because of you. I knew you were capable, but seeing it happen is amazing. They docked the ship safely, and the colony erupted in applause. Humans and aliens alike were astonished. The joke princess had not only proven herself, she had become a symbol of unity, intelligence, and strength. The Emperor, observing from his fleet, sent a message. Princess Numa, you have exceeded all expectations. Your actions reflect great skill and honor. You have made a human mechanic a trusted partner and strengthened the bonds between our worlds. I am proud. Numa looked at Bram, her eyes shining with happiness. Father, he understands now. I am not a joke. He sees my value. Bram took her hand gently. You have always had value, Numa. I only helped you see it in action. You are brilliant, courageous, and capable. The galaxy should see that too. Over the next few days, the cargo ship became a center of attention. Scientists, engineers, and officials from both species studied it. Amazed at its design and the flawless work done by Numa and Bram, they demonstrated the ship's capabilities. Explaining how humans and aliens had worked together, Numa spoke with confidence, answering questions and showing technical knowledge that impressed everyone through it all. Bram remained at her side, quietly assisting and supporting her. He felt a deep connection, one that had grown over weeks of shared work, danger, and discovery. Numa's presence was comforting, inspiring, and uplifting. She had shown him a part of himself he had never realized existed, the desire to protect, to support, and to share life with someone extraordinary. One evening, after the busy day had ended, they sat on the Martian plains, watching the sun dip behind distant mountains. Numa leaned against Bram, her expression calm and peaceful. I never imagined I could feel this way, she said softly. I always thought I would be alone, misunderstood, or laughed at. But here, with you, it feels different. It feels right. Bram smiled, his heart full. I feel the same, Numa. You are more than I ever expected. You are strong, kind, and brilliant. You are everything I have wanted in a partner, in a friend, in someone to share life with. Numa looked at him, her eyes shining. Do you mean that, Bram? He nodded. Every word. I have never met anyone like you, and I never want to be apart from you. Together, we can do anything. Numa's smile widened, and she squeezed his hand. Then we will. Together, always. The next weeks were filled with testing and exploration. Numa and Bram piloted the ship to nearby colonies, demonstrating its capabilities and helping to repair smaller vessels. They became a team recognized across the galaxy, admired for their skill, courage, and partnership. Numa's confidence continued to grow, and Bram found a sense of purpose and happiness he had never known. One day, as they prepared for another journey, Numa looked at Bram seriously. I have a choice to make, she said. My father may want me to return to the Emperor's court, but I do not want to leave. I want to stay with you to continue our work and to explore the universe together.
Oh.
Bram's heart swelled. Then stay, Numa. You belong here with me, with the humans and the galaxy that appreciates your talent. We will face everything together. Numa nodded. I choose this life. With you? From that moment, their partnership became unbreakable. The cargo ship, once a forgotten relic, now symbolized their journey, their courage, and their shared vision. Together, they repaired vessels, explored unknown regions of space, and bridged gaps between species. The humans saw the value of unity, strength, and skill, while the aliens recognized that true worth was measured by courage and heart, not appearances or titles. The Emperor, watching from afar, eventually accepted his daughter's choice. He realized that his initial joke had turned into something far greater. Numa's actions had not only proven her value, but had strengthened the alliance between humans and aliens. He sent a final message of respect and acknowledgement, praising her bravery, intelligence, and wisdom. Numa read the message and turned to Bram. He understands now. He respects what we have done. I never imagined this would happen. Bram smiled. It does not matter what he thinks anymore. What matters is that we see each other for who we truly are and work together. That is enough. Years passed, and the legend of the human mechanic and the alien princess grew. They became known across colonies and planets as the team that restored the cargo ship, defended Mars, and demonstrated the power of cooperation. Bram and Numa continued their work, teaching others, exploring new worlds, and inspiring countless individuals. Despite fame and recognition, they remained humble, focused on what mattered most, their friendship, trust, and shared love of discovery. Bram often marveled at how life had changed since the day Numa arrived as a supposed joke. She had become his partner, his equal, and the person he admired more than anyone else in the galaxy. Numa, for her part, never forgot the moment she met Bram, the quiet mechanic who treated her as someone of value. She had grown from a princess laughed at by her own people into a skilled engineer, a courageous leader, and a symbol of hope. She had discovered her worth, and it had changed not only her life, but the lives of countless others. One evening, as they watched the Martian sunset from the deck of the cargo ship, Bram turned to Numa. Do you ever think about how it all started? Numa smiled. Yes, I think about how I arrived here, a joke to some, an outsider to all. And now, look at us. We have done more than anyone imagined. We built something together, protected what matters, and proved that courage and heart are stronger than mockery and doubt. Bram took her hand. I could not have imagined anyone better to share this journey with. You are exactly what I always wanted, Numa. Strong, brilliant, and full of heart.
Numa squeezed his hand, her eyes shining.
And you are exactly what I needed, Bram. Brave, kind, and trusting. Together, we can face anything. As the stars appeared above Mars, the cargo ship hummed softly beneath them. The galaxy awaited their next adventure, and they were ready. They had proven that value was not in appearance or status, but in courage, skill, and heart. Together, they would explore, protect, and inspire. Leaving a legacy that would be remembered across worlds, the Emperor's joke had become the galaxy's marvel. And the human mechanic had found what he had always wanted. Numa, the princess once underestimated, had become everything she was meant to be. Together, they soared into the future, partners, friends, and heroes of their own story. Showing the universe that true strength comes from unity, respect, and the willingness to see what others overlook.